Boker Tov, today's daf is Daf Yud Zayin in Nidrim, right from the Mishnah. Says the Mishnah. Now, let's understand that we're talking here about a continuation of what we discussed yesterday. The Mishnah said yesterday that there's a chumrah, a stringency of shvuas over Nidrim. Remember that a shvuas chal even on a sleeping. I swear I'm not going to sleep today, that's chal. But if I make a neder that I'm not sleeping today, like my eyes are forbidden from sleeping, whatever, there we say that a neder is not chal. Of course, it's chal midarabanan. Kadam shani yashen shani medaber. My eyes are forbidden from sleeping, or I'm not going to sleep. Even if he said it in the lashon, if I'm not going to, I make a neder that I'm not going to sleep. He didn't say there's a shvua. It's chal derabanan, but it's not really chal deraisa. So there's the difference between shvua and nedarim. The shvua is chal on sleep. Nedarim is not chal on sleep midaraisa. What's the chumrah of nedarim over shvuas? So that's what we're discussing now. So one thing we said yesterday, of course, in neder is chal, even at bar mitzvah. If I make a neder that these tefillin are also to me, it's chal. I can't use those tefillin. But if I swear I'm not going to put on tefillin, that's not chal. Now we have, the Mishnah doesn't say chumrah, but the Ran explains that's what we mean over here. There's also a chumrah that a neder is chal within another neder. What does that mean? Yesh neder b'soch neder. And the way the Ran learns throughout the Gemara, the other Rishonim learn differently, but the Ran learns, we're only talking about Nazirus. The Gemara is going to explain, we're talking about a nazir, meaning if a man says, I'm a nazir, and then he says again, I'm a nazir, so for each nazirus, he has to count 30 days. But the nazirus is chal right away, meaning he's a double nazir. That means if he drinks wine, he has to bring 2 korbanos. He's chayiv twice. Whereas if he makes a shvua, it's like if I swear, the Torah told me that I have to put on, I can't swear I'm not going to mushba ba'omed. The same thing if I swear I'm not going to eat the bread, and then I say again, I swear I'm not going to eat the bread, the second one's not chal, because I'm already mushba ba'omed. So that's what it means here. Yesh neder b'soch neder, vein shvua b'soch shvua. A neder is a shot in the way Ron learns that there's a chumrah that neder is chal even on another neder, but shvua is not chal within another shvua. We're going to describe the details in a minute. Case that example. Already nazir. If he says I am a nazir imochel. If I eat falafel today, I'm going to be a nazir. And then he says hareini nazir imochel. Again, he says if I eat falafel, I'm going to be a nazir. V'achol chayiv hakoach chayiv. If he's chayiv, he does say drank wine, and he's a nazir, he's chayiv on each and every one. In other words, one action will bring him to chiyuvim. Of course, the chiyuv, the carbon is chayiv. He's chayiv anyway. The point is if he was warned. In other words, the chiyuv that he's chayiv for lo yachel, etc. That's only if he was warned. Only if he did it b'mezid. But in any case, not getting into the Ram talks about that a little bit, but the idea here is that even though he didn't say, again, the Gemara, the Ran has a girsa of the Gemara, which we don't have, but the Ran had a girsa that why does it say Harei Nazir imocha? I'm a Nazir if I eat. If I eat a falafel, I'm going to be a Nazir. You could just say I'm a Nazir. You don't have to say that. He says Harei Nazir imocha, Harei Nazir imocha. He says twice, I am a Nazir. So they're both chal. Now what does that mean they're both chal? He's a double Nazir. However, he still has to count 30 days, bring carbon and bring another 30 days, because every Nazir is the minimum of 30 days. Remember, if you say a Nazir, I'm a Nazir for 1 day or for 10 days, if minimum is 30 days, because it says a year is gematria 30, has to be minimum. You could be a Nazir for 2 years or 10 years. Right, so he has to fulfill the times consecutively, but he's a double Nazir right now. He just said, he's really, if he says I'm a Nazir, and then he says again, I'm a Nazir, or we'll see later in the Gemara, let's say I'm a double Nazir. I want to be 2 Naziruses. So he's twice chayiv if he does something, but he still has to do another 30 days because you have to fulfill for each Nazirus, you have to do at least 30 days. So again, the Mishnah says by neder it is chayiv. But what do you mean what kind of a neder? Only Nazirus, not like the other Rishonim, but the Ran learns it's only by Nazirus this works. For example, if he says this loaf of bread should be also to me like a carbon, and then he says again, this loaf of bread should be also to me like a carbon. It's only chayiv one, just like the shvua. Just like ain't shvua chal shvua by neder also. If he just says the same thing twice, doesn't work. Only by nazirus it works based on a pasuk, because we'll see. There's no svara, but it's a pasuk that nazirus could be chal on top of another nazirus, but you still have to do the 60 days. But you're a double nazir right now, so if you drank wine now, you were warned. Still drink wine. You drank wine now, be chayiv twice. So again, let's see the Mishnah. This is a chumrah that Nazirus that neder has over shvua, but it doesn't apply to all nedarim. Says the Ran, it's only by Nazirus. Kate said, Amar Reini Nazir Imochel. And again, he doesn't say Imochel. That's you don't have to do that. It only says Imochel because when we talk about Shvu, we talk about Shalo Ochel. So he talks about I'm going to be Nazir if I eat. But that stipulation if I eat is lavdafka. I could just say I'm a Nazir. I'm a Nazir today. I'm a Nazir today. It says that twice. Then Ochel, he's chayv al kochasach. So he ate. Let's say it doesn't mean he ate the bread. If he ate, he says I already Nazir Mochel and then he ate. Let's say the falafel. If I eat the falafel, I'm going to be a Nazir. And then he ate the falafel. Then he's a Nazir twice. Chayiv, but he's chayiv when he means al kolach tzvachs. He's chayiv for each and every one of the Naziruses. That's what we mean over here. But if he says shvur shelo ochel, I swear I'm not going to eat the loaf. Shvur shelo ochel, I'm not going to eat the loaf. A double, but ochel, and he ate the loaf. Ain't chayiv alach. This is only chayiv once. So a shvur is not why because he's already mushba ba'omed, like we had by tefillin. If I swear I'm not going to put on tefillin, what do you mean I can't swear? I'm already forsworn by God that I am going to put on tefillin. Shvur there is shvur ba'omed. It's mushba ba'omed behar Sinai. Here also, the Ran says you're also mushba ve'omed, right? You can't change it because you're already forsworn that you are going to eat. The Ran, right before the lines get wide on our page on the left side, says haveli mushba ve'omed. You're already forsworn. So here is a chumrah that neder has over Naziris, but it's not all neders, not a regular neder, only a neder of Naziris, a kind of that Naziris kabchal one on top of the other. Now, when he said you're a Nazir twice, here we have machlokas in the Gemara between Rav Huna and Shmuel. What does Rav Huna say? Amar Rav Huna, lo shenal dama hareini Nazir hayom hareini Nazir l'machar. Here's what happened. He said, I'm going to be a Nazir today. That's 30 days. And then he said, hareini Nazir l'machar. I'm going to be a Nazir starting tomorrow. Well, 29 days overlap, right? But the second one, which starts tomorrow, goes for an extra day. You can't have a Naziris for one day, so he's got to do the whole 30 days. So Rav Huna says it only works if there was something in addition on the second Naziris. Not if he said Hareini Nazir Hayom, Hareini Nazir L'machar. The migu is if I say if he says twice Hareini Nazir Hayom, Hareini Nazir Hayom, according to Rav Huna, it doesn't work. Why? If he says Hareini Nazir Hayom, Hareini Nazir L'machar, I'm a Nazir today. That's 30 days from today. And I'm a Nazir from tomorrow, 30 days from tomorrow. But I added something, right? I added an extra day. 29 days overlap, but in the second one, there's one more day. The Migad Kamatosif Yom says, since I'm adding on one more day, Chal and Nazir, since then Nazirs could be Chal one on top of the other. Avalomar Hareini Nazir Hayom, Hareini Nazir Hayom. But if he said twice, I'm a Nazir today, I'm a Nazir today, ain't Chal and Nazirs, it doesn't work. It's just like a shvua, ain't shvua al shvua, ain't regular netter is not a regular netter, and a zero. So that's Rav Huna's opinion. Shmuel disagrees, and we pass like Shmuel. Shmuel says no. Afilu Amar Hareini Nazir Hayom, Hareini Nazir Hayom. Even if he says it the same thing twice, I'm a Nazir today, I'm a Nazir today. Chal Nazir Saleh, the second Nazir is Chal. So he's a double Nazir right now, but he has to still keep another 30 days. He's got to keep 30 days plus 30 days, but he's a double Nazir from right now. That's how Shmuel learns of Pshat in the Mishnah.
He has to keep 60 days?
He has to keep 60 days, yeah. He has to keep 60 days, right.
It's not consecutive,
it's consecutive, right? It's consecutive, one after another, right? It's like consecutive terms, one after another.
That's how we learn the Mishnah.
That's how we learn the Mishnah, yeah.
The Mishnah
no, he's both. In other words, no, he's a double Nazir from right now. If he says already Nazir, he's really twice a Nazir from today. But besides that, he still has to count another 30 days, and he's still count a total of 60 days.
The only way you could be a double is you do it consecutive.
That's right. That's a double, but he's still a double.
Yeah.
Right. In terms of the Chiyav, he's Chayfaz. That's how the Ran explains it. And Ran says the Gemara explains. Ran has it in the gears of the Gemara that the Gemara talks about the im ochel, the stipulation. If I eat a falafel, I'm a nazir is not necessary. You just mentioned because by shvur it says shvur shalochel, so he says by nazir I'm a nazir im ochel, but that's not necessary. And he explains v'chayav al kolachas v'taminen lo lomer the chayav linog naziros al kol kabbalah glola v'chi omar reini nazir the chayav shtei naziros and mona shloshim umevi carbon. He finishes his first 3-day cycle, brings a carbon for that. The carbon you bring the chatas ola and shlomin. V'chozer mona shloshim and he counts another days maybe carbon. But because the Gemara is going to say, and it's actually in tomorrow's daf, how do we know this halacha that a double naziros? Why should it work by as we explained, by shvur it doesn't work. By swear I'm not going to eat the loaf, and I swear I'm not going to eat the second loaf. The second shvur does not chal. The same thing if I say this loaf of to me is also like a carbon, and then I say this loaf of me is also like a carbon a second time. The second one's not chal. It only works by nazir, so special pasuk. Lefisha Nazir Shnia Chala B'Tos Man Rishon. It's Chala already now. But you can't count it until you finish the first 30 days. You can't start counting the second 30 days. Because if you say it's not Chal B'Shas Nidro, how is the Chal the Ran? If it's not Chal now, how's the Chal later on? I said I'm Nazir to Yom today. So I should be Chal in 30 days from now. I didn't say in 30 days. I didn't say I want to be a Nazir in 30 days. I said I want to be Chal now. So how can it be Chal later on? Right in the notable says, "Mom, keep lo chal lahashta lo chal nami bosses in elevade mahal is chal right now. Mishmachik tani yesh neder b'sof neder. So it's chal from right now. Okay, now we have Shmuel. So that was Rav Huna. Rav Huna's opinion is that it only works if I said no. Hareini, the second one I postponed by a day. Hareini nazar yom. The second one I said hareini nazar l'machul. Shmuel says no. I feel omer hareini nazar yom, hareini nazar yom. Even if I said them both exact, they both start today. Chal and nazir. So the second one's chal. So the Gemara now says the kasha. Ula Rav Huna, listen carefully. Ula Rav Huna, according to Rav Huna, that says it only works when, if I said Hareini Nazir Yomer and Solmacher, Adatana ain't Shvua b'toch Shvua. Why did he give an example? Say Shvua is not Chal in another Shvua. Listen to Yesh Neder b'soch Neder. Vein Neder b'soch Neder. Why do you say Yesh Neder b'soch Neder? Vein Shvua b'toch Shvua. Right? Vein Shvua b'toch Shvua. Why don't you say listen to Yesh Neder b'soch Neder? Vein Neder b'soch Neder. I'll tell you, there's cases when sometimes a Neder is Chal within another Neder, sometimes it's not. Hareini nazar yom nazar l'machar yesh neder b'soch neder. Hareini nazar yom nazar l'machar. Hareini nazar yom nazar l'machar yesh nazar. Hareini nazar yom. Then ain't neder b'soch neder. The Gemara says kasha, taka kasha on Rav Huna. But let's understand the kasha. The simple way to learn is like the Gemara says all throughout. Say if you hold this, why do you have to say yesh neder b'soch neder and ain't shvua b'toch shvua? Just say. Within neder itself, you could say yesh neder b'soch neder and ein neder b'soch neder. Yesh neder b'soch neder when I say yesh and hareini nazar yom and l'machar, and ein neder b'soch neder when I say hareini nazar yom. According to Rav Huna, that says that hareini nazar yom and nazar does not work. Only hareini nazar yom and nazar l'machar works. So why didn't the Mishnah make that nafkamina? So the Ran says that's not the kasha. That's not the kasha. Because if you say that, you could ask according to Shmuel also. Why did you make a difference between neder and shvua? I'll tell you also you can make a neder. What did I say before, according to the Ram? That it only works by nazirus, yesh neder b'soch neder. But by a regular neder, like this loaf of usher to me like a carbon, then I say this also doesn't work. So according to Shmuel, you could also ask the kasha. Why didn't the Mishnah say yesh neder b'soch neder, the ein neder b'soch neder? Yesh neder b'soch neder when I'm talking about nazirus. Hareini nazar yom and nazar l'machar then nezer. And if I say this loaf of meat should be also like a carbon regular neder, then ain't neder b'soch neder. Why did the Mishnah say you can ask that according to Shmuel too? But the answer says, Ron, the Gemara is not asking that in a normal fashion. That why, if you were to hold this, why didn't you make a neder minei ubei, so to speak? Why didn't you make the difference in the Mishnah? Why talk about versus neder versus shvua? I can make a difference in neder itself. Sometimes neder b'soch neder is chal, sometimes it's not. That's not what he's asking on Rav Huna, because otherwise he has to cash on Shmuel too. He could also say yesh neder b'soch neder, ein neder b'soch neder. Yesh neder b'soch by nazirus, ein neder b'soch neder by a regular neder. I'm forbidding this loaf of bread to be sam. But he says no. The reason he's asking this on Rav Huna is because he's saying, because the truth is, the reason why he doesn't ask the kasha on Shmuel is because this Mishnah is a continuation of the previous Mishnah. Yeah. What did the previous Mishnah say? Yesh chomer b'shvuas nederim, yesh neder. This is the chomer that neder has over shvua. Neder is chal b'toch neder in the case of nazirus, and shvua is not chal. That's what we're talking about. You can't have such a kasha Shmuel. So what's the kasha on Rav Huna then? What's the kasha on Rav Huna? We said, of course, Rav Huna. Why do you say shvua b'shvua? Listen to yesh neder b'toch neder. Why? Not because obviously what kind of kasha that we're trying to show between neder and shvua. No, the kasha is if you're really right, Rav Huna, that neder b'soch neder, meaning by nazirus. Where does it work? Only if I said hareini nazar yom nazar l'machar. But if I said hareini nazar yom, then it doesn't work. That's not so clear. The Mishnah should have said that. That's what we say. If that's the case, the Mishnah should have said that because otherwise we'd be mistaken. We're looking at the Ran here on Amid Beis near the top. If the the very top of the Ran on Yud Zan Amid Beis, on the right side, where Tosos usually is, where and this is where we have a Ran. Hechi pasuk tana b'tana yesh neder b'soch neder. You say yesh stam the mash b'choliyis mash habil lefush. You should have said you should explain kech l'nitivish, which should make a mistake. According to Rav Huna, it only works yesh neder b'soch neder when I said already nazar yom is l'macher. But if I said nazar yom and nazar yom, then it doesn't work. You should have explained that. Not so simple. Ubasar achilisnei ma'idcha. And then you should have said, okay. First, you should have said that neder b'soch neder. When does it work? If I said nazar yom or nazar l'macher. But if I said nazar yom, then it doesn't work. And besides that, neder has a chumrah over shvuah because shvuah it's never chal dangerous. That's the kasha. So the Gemara ends up with the kasha, and that's it. But the Gemara is not going to ask other kashas on Rav Huna because basically we pass like Shmuel. That even if I said a rein nazar yom or nazar yom, they're both chal. Tanan, top of Yud Zayin and Beis in Gemara.
How many days does he have?
You still have to keep 30 days, right? You have to keep 30 days, but then. Two sets of kavanos, correct? 2 sets. When you finish a regular naziris, you have to bring a chatas olin shlamim. Yeah, and all that, right? You got through the whole procedure twice. If it becomes tummy middle, then he's bringing asham. It's a different story. We'll talk about that in the series. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Once, there's nothing left.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah. Good. Tanan, whatever grows, whatever's there, it tickles them a little bit. All right. Tanan, from the top of Yizan base. Yesh neder b'soch neder, vein shvu b'toch shvua. This is our Mishnah. Yesh neder b'soch neder, vein shvu b'toch shvua. Hechidim, what's the case? Ilema, now the Gemara is going to try to analyze who's right. Ilem damarei nazar yom nazar l'mocher. If that's really the case. Like Rav Huna says, that a Mishnah is only speaking about, where he said, when is it chal, when is the second chal? Which what are we comparing apples and apples, right? Nazar yom nazar l'macher, that is chal, and shvu is not chal in that man. Just like the Naziris is two. When I said Nazar yom, that's one period. Then I said Nazar l'macher, that's from tomorrow for 30 days, going from tomorrow. So what would be the equivalent case of shvuah? Where I said I'm not going to eat figs, and then I said I'm not going to eat grapes. They're two different things. So amai lo chal shvuah. Why isn't the second one's not chal? It's the first one is chal on dates, on figs, whatever. And the second one's on grapes. What's the problem over here? Why isn't shvuah? Ela hechidami. What's the case? The lo chal shvuah. What's the case where shvuah is not chal shvuah? Could go down shvuah shalochel tainim. He says I'm not going to eat figs because I'm shvuah shalochel tainim. I'm not going to eat figs. Second time, that's the exact same shvuah. The kavasik am naziris, the equivalent case by naziris is echidami. The amar reina azar yom nazar l'macher. In other words, if you want to compare, you're saying naziris is chal yesh neder b'soch neder, meaning naziris yesh neder b'soch neder, and by shvuah it's not chal. So where's the not chal by shvuah? When I made the same shvuah, I'm not going to eat figs, and I'm not going to eat figs. The second one's not chal. But by nazir it is chal. What's the equivalent by nazir? I'm a nazir from today. I'm a nazir from today. That should be Tani Yesh Neder B'soch Neder. Kasha Rav Huna. So it's a kasha Rav Huna because Rav Huna says that the naziris doesn't work in that case. Rav Huna no. Masnisin the Amar Hareini Nazir Hayam Nazir L'macher. The Mishnah is speaking about, like I said, like Rav Huna said, where is the second naziris chal when he said Nazir Hayam Nazir L'macher? And what's the equivalent by shvuah? The kavasik by shvuah, the amar shlo ochel tainim. The first shvuah was I'm not going to eat figs. B'chazar amar shvuah shlo ochel tainim b'anavim. I added something to it, right? Because don't forget, that's more of an equivalent. Because in the case of naziris, I'm saying I'm a nazir for the next 30 days, and then I'm saying from tomorrow I'm a nazir for the next 30 days. So 29 days overlap. Part of the neder is the same. So if I want to compare apples and apples, or in this case figs and grapes, the equivalent would be where I said. I make a shvuah that I'm not going to eat figs, and then I make another shvuah that I'm not going to eat figs together with grapes. Okay, I'm not going to eat figs, and I'm not going to eat figs together with grapes. The lo chayla, right? The lo chayla. That's what Rav Huna says. In other words, what's pshat in the Mishnah? When does it work? Nazir when I said I'm a nazir today and I'm a nazir tomorrow. First one was I'm a nazir today. Second was I'm a nazir tomorrow. And the equivalent case by shvuah would be where I said I'm not going to eat figs. And the second shvuah was I'm not going to eat figs together with grapes, where it's not chal. The shvuah is not chal. Says, what do you mean it's not chal? Rabba says it is chal. Shvuah shelo ochel tainim. If a man said I'm not going to eat figs, then he ate figs. Vifish carbon. He made a mistake. He ate the figs, and he brought a carbon for violating his shvuah. Right? He brought a carbon for violating shvuah because he ate figs. Then and then he ate grapes. Is he chayiv for eating grapes? Because like the Ron explains, the second shvur was, I'm not going to eat figs and grapes together. Then he only ate the grapes. He's not chayiv because he only had a chatzi shir. If I said I'm going to eat, I swear I'm not going to eat figs and grapes, and all I ate was grapes. You don't bring a carbon for a half a shear. The netter, the shvu is chal. It's just that he's putter from his second carbon because he didn't eat the figs with the grapes. But the second one is chal. I said I'm not going to eat figs, right? That's your first shvu. That's chal. Then he said I'm not going to eat figs with grapes. And if he only ate grapes, so he's not chayiv b'shvud. But he's not chayiv because he didn't eat figs and grapes together. But if he would eat figs and grapes together, he would be. He would have to bring a carbon because it is a good shvua. So you see, it is chal. How did Rav Huna say it's not chal in that case? Rav Huna says, where's Nazir's chal when he said whereas by shvua, if I said I'm not going to eat figs, and then I said I'm not going to eat figs and grapes, made a shvua to these effects, I'm not going to eat figs and grapes, the second one's not chal. It is chal. Rabbi says it is chal. The second one's chal. The reason you're potter is because if you only ate grapes, you're not chayiv. But if you ate figs, and then you ate figs and grapes, you'd be chayiv twice according to Rabbi. Yes, Rav Huna is feel like a Rabbi. He doesn't like Rabbi. He also the second one's not chal at all. Because since you're already mushba ba'omid on the figs, the second shvu, I'm not going to eat figs with the grapes, is not chal. That's Rav Huna's opinion. Again, we're going to see we don't pass like Rav Huna. Meisvei. So all these are kashas on Rav Huna. Interesting. The other day the Gemara said, since we tried to disprove Rav Yehuda, going back and forth, right, about Rav Yehuda, so we say the Gemara says the halacha is like Rav Huna because the Gemara is discussing him throughout. So we said since we've been going back and forth in Rav Yehuda, so we're going to paskin like Rav Yehuda. Here the Gemara is going back and forth, bringing kashas only on Rav Huna, and we don't paskin like him. Okay, but anyway, that's the derech of the Gemara. It's not always easy. Right.
Then he also makes a sure I'm not going to eat grapes. And no, he can't do that.
Well, you can't eat grapes anyway.
No,
In that case, he's already mushba b'omed, right? He's mushba, he's already forsworn. He can't do it, right?
If you were neder, not
Right.
sure.
Yeah, but as we said, it doesn't make, even if he had two nadarim, let's say he doesn't become a nozer. Let's say he said, these grapes are usher to me like a carbon. It's not a nozer. And then he says again, these grapes are usher like a carbon. It's not chal, because we said it only is chal in the case of nozer, and only in the case of nozer because it's a special pasuk. It's not a svara. It's based on a pasuk. It says nozer lahazer. The double lashon teaches me that he can leave me a nozer within another nozer, but otherwise it's not chal. So that wouldn't work. Okay, so the Gemara now says that okay, Rav Huna doesn't hold of Rabbah, but Rav Huna seems a little shver. Meisvei, another kasha. Misha nazar shnei naziros. Let's say a man says I'm going to be a nazar twice. Manas rishona. He counted the first naziros, and he was mafresh hifish carbon. V'nishal aleha. Then he went to the rabbi, and he had the first one absolved, right? And he had the first naziros annulled. You could be, that's hataras nadarim, right? You made it, a naziris is a kind of a netter. If I made a netter and then I went to the rabbi, I got a hataras nadarim, that's nadarim. So here he said, I'm going to be a nazir twice. I'm a nazir twice. And he counted the first one, and he was mafresh carbon, and then he annulled the first one, he had a hataras nadarim. Also, l'shniba rishona. This is like what they call in prison terms, for time served, right? Meaning the second one took the place of the first one, because the first one, when you annul it, means it's annulled l'mafreya, like it never existed. Like they weren't divorced; they had the marriage annulled, meaning it never took place. So here too, by a hataras nadarim, we said it's not like a hataras nadarim where a husband breaks his wife's netter or a father breaks his daughter's netter. It's only going forward. It's annulled l'mafreya. Hataras nadarim means it's not l'mafreya. So here too, when you annulled the first naziris, the second one took the place of the first one. Now, what's the case here when he made two nazirises? He says that he made two nazirises and he did the first one, and then he had it annulled. So the second one took the place of the first one, meaning he doesn't have to keep the second naziris because he already did it. The first one was annulled, so the second one took the place of the first one. What's the case? Let's see the case. Let's see the if he said I'm a nazir today, I'm a nazir tomorrow, am I also a shniyah b'rishona? What do you mean the second one took the place of the first one? The second one took place from day 2 to day 31. Took longer. There's an extra day there. You can't say, in other words, in the case we outlined, we said if he said I'm a nazir twice, and then he had the first one annulled. The second one took the place of the first one, and he's done. He's done basically, right? So if he said a razor yom as l'macher, so why do you say the second one took the place of the first one? There's an extra day there. Must be where he said in Yom. We took to Rav Huna. This is a kasha Rav Huna because Rav Huna said when you say Harein Nazar Yom or Nazar Yom, it doesn't work. It's just like a Shiur that doesn't work, or I forbid this loaf of bread on myself. It's also me like a garment. It doesn't work. It only works if said Nazar Yom Nazar L'macher. So it's a kasha from here. You see, it does work because he said the second one took the place of the first one, meaning there is a second one. It says lo Harein Nazar Yom or Nazar L'macher. Really, Rav Huna will learn that he said, "Umay also lo." What he means, the second one counts. Labar me'ahu yom except for the extra day. You notice what he's saying is this: when he said "Areni nazar yom areni l'macher," that's how Rav Huna learns it works. And then he was shoel after he finished 30 days, and he was brought his carbon, and he was mafresh the carbon. Let's say he didn't say he brought the carbon; he was mafresh the carbon, ready to bring it. He annulled the first one. So he said the second one takes place of the first. Not entirely, says Rav Huna. No, it means 29 days of the second one, which was started the next day, right? He's done already, meaning he's only got one more day. What's the case? A man says, let's take a 30-day month. The Israelis never get this, they never know which day is 31, right? The Americans used to do this, right? But we know January, February, March don't have any 30-day months. Let's take April. Let's take a simple case for us, right? Or let's say, Cheshvan or whatever. Sometimes 30 days. Let's take a month that has, in our terms, April. April, we know always has 30 days, right? So he said on April 1st, he says, I'm going to be a Nazir, right? And then he said on April 1st, I'm going to be a Nazir starting tomorrow. That's how Rav Huna learns it works, right? Shmuel says, no, it works either way. If I said Harein Nazar Yom, that works. But we're trying to disprove Rav Huna. Rav Huna says it only works if I said Harein Nazar Yom, Harein Nazar L'macher. So now the Gemara says if he said it in that way, says Rav Huna, that's the case here, and then he annulled the first one. The second one took the place of the first one. So we understood it in the kasha that you're done. So how could you be done only if you said Harein Nazar Yom? No, says Rav Huna. The second one, he said the second one takes place of the first one for days 2 through 30 of April. April 2nd to April 30th, those 29 days are counted already because I'm done. Since the first one was annulled, the second one took place, but I still have one more day of May. I still have to do May 1st for the third. That's just so we can understand the days. We understand the number of days easier. So that's what everyone says. Says Gemara at the top of the page. What do you mean that the time served it counts for that? Except for that extra day, you got to keep one more day, May 1st, and then bring your carbon. Inami, or I'll tell you how it works. To go in shekibul shteinis basachas. Everybody agrees. In other words, when we said yesh neder b'soch neder bein shvu b'shachlu, that's when he says I'm a nazir now, and I'm a nazir now. But a shvu doesn't work the way. Ain't shvu b'toch shvu. But let's say he says I'm a kabel two naziruses at one time. I want to be a nazir twice right now. Then it does work, even according to Rav Huna. Inamik don shekibul of shtei naziros basachas, and we're going to talk about that, right? By shvu also could that work? We'll talk about it. Inamik don shekibul shtei naziros basachas. I was makabel both at the same time, so you can't say one's chal before the other. They're both chal at the same time. That's what he means. They're both chal at the same time. Inami says the Ran on the fourth line of the page on the left side. The kai gav the chal tabayo sharei ein achas mein because then one's not the first one. Then ein mashul tachal shni achara. Maybe by shvur that would also work. We'll talk about that, right? But by nazirus, then it would work according to Rav Huna, even according to Rav Huna. When I say Rav Huna says when I say nazir yom, the second one's not chal according to Rav Huna. According to Shmuel, it is. We're passing like Shmuel, we'll see, right? But according to even according to Rav Huna, if he said Hareini Nazir Pamayim, I'm a Nazir twice, then it would be chal, and that's what the case would be there. So we can't disprove Rav Huna from this case, nor from the previous case. But look, we did disprove it from the fact that why, according to Rav Huna, why didn't the Mishnah explain that was a kasha, but it wasn't a tiyufta. Notice we use lashon at the top line of Amid Beis today. Yud Zayin of Beis was kasha. A kasha is not as strong as a tiyufta. Tiyufta, you're asking a kasha like from a brisa or a mishnah, and that's a tiyufta, a real strong kasha. Kasha is like, we're Jews. We have a lot of kashas. Why didn't Mashiach come yet? Kasha. Why did these things happen? Kasha. We live with it. We go on. That's the lesson in life too. That sometimes you can't say, well, I have a problem with this and I give up everything. No, sometimes kasha, you go on anyway. Yeah.
What does that mean?
It means that when I drink the wine now by mistake, right? So I'm chayiv twice, 2 korbanos, or if I did it like if I was Edom and Asra, I would have to be punished. Your obligation in the case, your obligation is so there's a good question. If you said already Nazar Yom, then you have to do another 30 days. But if you said I'm a kabel 2 naziris at one time, then it could be within 30 days you fulfill both. A double. That's right. I think in that case, when you said a Rain Nazar Ayom, if you said I'm a Kabul 2 Naziris, it's like I'm a double Nazar, and you how does that work? That's how it works, because one's not Chal before the other. So which one's Chal first? So then I think you fulfill both. It's like time served. Concurrent sentences. That's the word we're looking for, right? Not consecutive, concurrent sentences, right? So I think that's how you have to look at it. But we'll see more when we learn the zeros. So that's a good point. Good point, but that's how it is. Now, why does it work? Let's just see the Gemara. We'll ask Kashi after. Let's just finish because I want to finish here. No, we have time. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
It said that he was mafresh his korbanot already.
That's right. That's right.
Within the first zeros before he went to.
That's right. And then he annulled it. So those korbanos could be used. Right. Those korbanos could be used for the second one. Yeah. Because effectively.
I thought we learned somewhere else that if you were mafresh a korban for specific use, you can't use it for.
That's right.
Else.
But here we could, because the first use was meaningless at the end. It was a no. So the whole thing was batel. And it was like the whole thing was a no. Yeah. Because the whole thing was a no. Right. You could be Mishol on Hekdesh also. You could be Shol on Trumish, Mishol on Hekdesh. So here the whole thing was a Shol.
I have a different question.
Yeah.
Usually when we use the word tufta, there's nothing afterwards.
Yeah.
Here he answered.
No. So here the question. No. When the Gemara says tufta the Rafuna tufta, then there's not the answer. But here the Gemara says isn't this a here that's a kasha? Isn't that a tusha Rafuna low? In other words, isn't this a strong kasha Rafuna? Before the Gemara says a kasha. Then it's tufta Rafuna tufta. Is once in a while, by the way, even in a case like that, the Gemara goes on. But usually tufta Rafuna tufta. If the Gemara would say that would be the final. That's put to rest. He's finished. But here it was a kasha to Rav Amnuna. Nazar Lahazir, Bosik says, how do we know this idea? Why should Nazir's one be chal on another, like it's concurrent or even Hayom, according to Shmuel, that works? Why? Because it says Nazar Lahazir, a special pasuk teaching me you could have 2 Nazirs at one time. Nazir's chal and Nazirs. Shech, I might think for lo dinu. Umashvu chamura. Marach Shvua is more stringent. Why is Shvua more stringent? We'll see why. Because the pasuk there, so we're going to have in a few minutes. Gemara says, by Shvua it says, Ki lo yinaka Hashem eis asher shmol hashavi. By Shvua it mentions the word God will not find you innocent, will not cleanse you. So Shvua is more chomer in a certain sense. He says Marach Shvua, which is more stringent. Ain't Shvua chal Shvua. Nazirus kala, where it doesn't say that lashon of lo yinaka. Lo kolshkein, certainly Nazir should not be chal one another. Tamlo Nazir lahazir, that you're double. Mikanch Nazir is chal Nazir. So you see, one Nazir could be chal another. What's the case? Ilay madama reini Nazir ayomi Nazir lamacher. If he said one's Nazir today and Nazir tomorrow, what do I need a pasuk hakraba? What do I need a pasuk for? What do I need a pasuk? It's obvious. I'm Nazir. One is from April 1st to April 30th, and one's from April 2nd to May 1st. Why do I need a pasuk for that? Those are 2 different Nazirises. Elav Damarei Nazarayom Nazarayom. Elamai must be because he said Harei Nazarayom Nazarayom. And in a case like that, you would say based on the Kal V'chomer that it should not be chal no better than a shvua, Biktani, and still you say Nazir's chal Naziris. That's a kash again on Rav Huna. This is low. Like we said before, maybe it's speaking about where is Makabel both at the same time, where even Rav Huna is moted that it works, and therefore. The body keeping the matosiv, right? Right. So the Gemara now says, the Ran says, Vim Tomar. The Ran says, what do I need a pasuk even for that? It's like I said, Nazir for 60 days. Ilav Krav Minashim the Samach Yom Ke'echad. I might think he counts the case V'Avi Korban, but also Krav Shminan the Shtein Zeus Chalukan have called Lamed Megalech or maybe Korban Zero Pir Shmuel. So according to this, the Ran saying that when I said I rained Nazirus Pamayim, Moshe, you see, according to this, when he says I'm Makabel two Nazirus is at one time, even when he said Vasachas I'm Makabel two Nazirus, he's supposed to do 30 plus 30. It's not concurrent. You see, the Ran says. He says, and the Shtein Nazirus Chalukan Havei, Bavi Kol Lamed Megaleach Umebi Korban. In other words, he says, what's the Chiddush in that here? Also, why, if I'm a Kabbalah Nazirus for 100 days or for 1,000,000 days or for whatever amount of time I do, it all works, right? So what's the Chiddush? What's the Chiddush? The Chiddush is, I might think you do 60 days, and then each one is a separate one. You got to do 30 days and shave and go through the process. That's how the Ran learning now that when he says even I say Makabel Shtein Nazirus, you still have to do 30 plus 30. That's how he learns it. But in any case, that's how Rav Hamud learns the case. And Rav Huna's Moda that if he said Shkibul Shtein Nazirus Basachas, why is Shmuel more? Why is Shmuel more chomerik than Neder? If it's because what Shmuel is chal even on something. Remember we've said like Michael, what's your word? That it's chal on an abstract idea. It's not chal on a physical, concrete item. So Shvuah has that chomer. It's chal even on something, even on sleep, even on walking, even on talking, which is not a physical thing that you can hold on to. I feel Shem and Mamish. And whereas Neder is only chal, Neder nami yeshel chomer shekain chal on mitzvah kurshus. And Neder is chal even on a mitzvah, like the film also to me, chal even like even on a chiyuv, just like on a rishus. Neder has that chomer too. And now we also have the Neder is also chal, the double Neder on Nazirus, right? And we have that too. Elamishum dechsiv ba b'shvu by shvu. It says lo yinak. It's got that stringency that God will not find units. So that's why shvu is more chomer. So I would have said based on the Kal V'chomer that Nazirus should not be chal. Kamashma and that it is chal. So what do you see? Nazirus is chal or Nazirus says Rav Huna. No, it's telling you that if I'm a kabel two Nazirus at one time, but basachas that that's chal also. That two of them are chal. But that's so according to Rav Huna, if in a shvuah where I do it one time, it would not be chal. If I said I swear twice that I'm not going to eat the bread, according to Rav Huna, it's mashma that it would not be chal. By Nazirus, it's chal. You learn it only works by basachas. So to compare the two, Nazirus works basachas, but by shvuah it wouldn't work basachas. That's what we'll see. The Gemara will talk about this. We'll see tomorrow's Gemara talks about a different thing. You see, the next Gemara is real middle of tomorrow's daf. That's where the podcast will take us. We'll pick up from tomorrow because that's where we finish halfway down the daf, or 2/3 of the way down, and the podcast will pick it up from there. Because then we're talking about we say shvuah shaloch is on chayv one, but let's say you're shoel on the first one, then the second one is chal. In other words, the second neder is not chal, the second shvuah is not chal, or in the case of you made a neder on the loaf of bread, you're not going to eat it, and the second one's not chal. But if you show on the first one, then the first one, the second one could be chal. It's what we call mitla tol v'koi. It's suspended. It's not chal, but as soon as the first one is annulled, meaning it's totally absolved, and you're mafreya, then the second one is solved. Just a point, give a minute that I sent out the email, that notice from the Al Daf at the Yerushalmi. On Monday, they're starting a Daf Yomi for Yerushalmi. So I looked into it a little bit. In fact, I bought a set I went to Shanky's and I bought a new set of Yerushalmi. They came out with a new set of the Oz V'Hadar, and Art Scroll also just finished this with this whole hullabaloo that they made a whole big shindig. That Art Scroll finished the Yerushalmi, they finished Shas now, but they changed the order. I mean, when I say change the order, meaning this. There have been, I checked into this, I did a little research on this week. Since 1980, the Ger Rebbe said, let's do Daf Yomi for Yerushalmi also. The Daf Yomi in Yerushalmi was, according to the Vilna Shas, there's Vilna, there was Venice, there's no, the Vilna Shas that they went with, you finished in 4.5 years. Not like Bavli, which is 2,711 dafs, takes 7.5 years, around almost 7.5 years. But the Bavli only had 1,554 Dapim. And the Bavli doesn't have Kachim, but they do include Zram. It's set up differently. So it was 4.25 years. So they had 10 cycles from 1980 until now, until 2022 is 42 years. They're finishing the 10th cycle on Sunday. And this coming Sunday, they're finishing the 10th cycle. Now they're starting a new cycle on Monday. Okay, I'm planning to start learning it myself, and I don't have a shiur on it yet. But I don't know if there's any good shiur. There are some shiurim, I think, Rabbi Rosner is giving a shiur in English on it. He's starting a Daf Yomi in Yerushalmi. I'll try to learn it myself. I brought it in the Gemara, but they're advertising. It's not 4.5 years. It's 5.5 years. Not 4.25 years. It's 5.5 years. They changed it to a sadah. How did they do that? So their excuse is that there was never really one accepted daf. Not like the Bavli that we always have this surah sadah, this form that and the pagination is the way we have in Bavli. In Yerushalmi, it wasn't exactly that way. They had Venice one, they had one from Vilna, they had other ones they have pictures of and stuff like that. So it wasn't Art Scroll that changed. I thought Art Scroll changed it. How did they have the chutzpah change? It wasn't Art Scroll. It was already Oz V'Hadar. The famous Gemaras that the yeshiva guys use now, that's the more popular one, Oz V'Hadar. They changed it already. So the Art Scroll and Oz V'Hadar went with that new pagination, and it's now more than it's not much more than the 1,550 words. It takes 5.5 years, not 4.25 years. But anyway, it's starting with that new pagination on Monday. And if you want to learn that, you want to follow that order by either. Each daf is a little bit shorter, correct? Because they have more mefarshim. They have these other mefarshim on it. So that's what so the new cycle starting Monday will not be 4.25 years, but will be 5.5 years starting on Monday. So
with no standard mefarshim also. I mean, it's not like we have.
Yeah, right. There's no Rashi, right? They have this other one, the Rosh Solilari, and the other ones. Anyway, just for your information, anybody wants to start learning the Yerushalmi. Have a good day. Have a good Shabbos. Yeah, on Sunday we'll start from the top of Yud Tes. The top of Yud Tes. Sorry, what was that?
That means the Siyum and Shas will be both in the same year.
Yeah, the same year, not at the same time. Yeah.